So I figured it's time to do a video again because it's been a while and I've been having mixed memories that I already know about. Stuff that I've already done. But they're inside my head for some reason. I repeat stuff, I don't know why. But there they are, they're there. So I figured, I'd do one. But before I get into that, just an update. I finally went to my first support class for therapy. That's not, doesn't want to stay. Counseling. Apparently my lunchtime clock didn't start, so I had to redo it. Oh well. So yeah, I started my therapy class last week, last Wednesday. It went well, and of course when I started giving my introduction and kind of talking about backstory, I started getting emotional. That is why I am there. There was 14, 15 women. It was kind of larger than what I thought it might be. But, after everybody shared their little story on why they're there, and most of them actually are there because, to me, it sounds like a coping issue. They can't deal with stress in everyday life, and that's not why I am there. I'm there for grieving the loss of my mother and the family, and never seeing them again. The same stuff I've been going through since I was 26 years old. And when I started talking and with strangers and stuff like that, I know it's embedded in me, and I know it's bothered me a whole lot. But on the same token, I didn't think I would have been so emotional about it, and I was. So I know that just told me that it still affects me, it still bothers me. I even indicated in that therapy session that, this has been a part of me since I was 26 years old. Thinking about my mother, wanting to see her, all that kind of whatever stuff, and the family. And I said it's never gone away, and I doubt that it ever will. I do not think it'll ever go away. I haven't really had any strong visitations from her lately. I ask her all the time, come see me. It's time. I need to see you. I want to talk to you, that kind of stuff. But nothing significant. She has been present in my dreams here and there, but nothing really stands out with it. The last one I had, I believe it was I think it was right after Uncle Bud died, or right before he died, in that time period. So, and I'm pushing along with my projects for next year's reunion, which keeps my brain occupied, keeps me busy, keeps me from just only doing housework when I am home. And I need something that keeps me grounded, something that keeps me focused and connected to the family. And this is what I've chose to do. It does help me. And enjoying the projects that I am working on. So that helps me a whole lot. And I've indicated in years past, I'm doing what helps me. And it's something my mother would want of me to do I had promised her that I would never attempt suicide again, and I said I won't ever do that. I made that solid promise to her. So I have no desire to end my life. So, but any rate, what else has been going on? That's, I think, pretty much it. Just working on the 12th, which is in 2 weeks, because today is September 1st. I'm going to go see Karen for a few days. And I'm really looking forward to that. So, this is actually a part 2 to a memory I was going to share, I think, at least a month or at least more than a month ago, that it's been more than a month, that I haven't gotten around to doing, just been busy with work and occupying myself mentally, with other stuff. Genealogy I've been working on also, so that also helps keep me grounded and focused and connected to the family, even though they're not physically here anymore. But it helps me, and I'm going to do everything that I'm going to do everything that helps me. So my memory, my part 2 memory takes place in 1986 in San Ysidro. And my mother's there, and I want to say it was before she adopted me, before I asked her to adopt me, because she would teach me stuff, her ways of doing stuff and cooking, and I wanted to cook for her. Mainly for her. I did, obviously for Uncle Bud and Tony too, but I wanted to cook for her because her and I were talking. So I wanted to make fried chicken. And she asked me if I ever made fried chicken before, and I'm like, yes, ma'am. I've made it. I made it when Tony and I had our first house. I made it for me because I did have to eat. And, so the dogs, but they eat dog food, but they would always want something that was made. But I made fried chicken this one time, so I wanted to make her southern fried chicken. So anyway, I get the bowl out and I put, the pans and stuff like that on the stove with the oil. And I put the flour inside the bowl and the seasoning and mix it up, and I'd taste in it just to make sure it's okay. And I'd add more seasoning, Lori seasoning, salt, garlic salt, onion salt, all this salt, black pepper. Got the eggs, beated up the eggs inside of a bowl. And so I get a brown paper bag and I stick it on, I think, the floor. Or the counter. I think it was the floor though. And so I go to do this, and I take the chicken, I rinsed it off, and start putting, and I put the chicken inside the eggs, and my mother, she's watching me. She was Aunt Marie at the time, but same person. And so she's sitting there watching me making noises. Darling, what are you doing? I'm making you southern fried chicken. I don't remember what we had. Probably a vegetable. We used canned vegetables back then, or frozen vegetables, or maybe we made a salad, whatever it was. But they had Betty Crocker's blueberry muffins. They don't have Betty Crocker blueberry muffins anymore, and if they do, I don't know where they're at. They're pretty good. So I have the chicken inside the egg, and I didn't dunk it inside the flour. I took the bowl of flour with the seasoning and put it inside the brown paper bag. And the oil, was cooking on the stove, getting nice and hot. My mother stops me when I was about to take the chicken and stick it inside the bag with the flour, and she says, "You can stop right there." And she gets up and she goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm making Southern fried chicken." "You're not making me Southern fried chicken out of a trash bag. It's not a trash bag. It was a grocery bag. I don't care. You're not doing it because unsanitized, unsanitary." I go, "But this is how you make Southern fried chicken. Who taught you how to make the chicken this way?" I told her I watched a friend of mine when I was in high school. She was from Ohio. And that's the way she did it, so I thought that's the way you did it. Nope. My feelings got hurt, and I started to cry, like I would always. And she goes, you take this. She goes, "You dump this out and you throw it away, flour and all, everything." She wasn't using it, so washed the bowl, and so she dunked the egg inside. The chicken inside the egg, and then the chicken inside the flour and the seasoning and stuff that she put inside, and put it in and fried it. And she says, "You watched me." She goes, "You watched the way I do it. This is the way you fry chicken." And had the tongs. And yeah, she wasn't happy over that chicken going inside of a brown paper bag. So yeah, my feelings got hurt on that. And what sparked that memory is I was watching MasterChef, and the contestants, they had to make fried chicken, and this woman got the brown paper bag, put everything inside the bowl, the flour, the seasoning, dumped it inside the brown paper bag, and that's where the chicken went. And she shook it up. She was from the South, a black woman. Shook it up really good and was frying it. And they were making comments about it, and that's what sparked it. I'm like going, "Oh my gosh, I remember that." How I wanted to make my mother, I was going to make supper, Southern fried chicken in a brown paper bag. Nope, you fried it on the stove. You don't put it inside. Well, actually, you would have to, but obviously fry it on the stove. But she goes, "You don't know what's been inside that bag." I'm like, "But everything wouldn't like the germs or whatever get killed from she didn't care. That's not how this was happening." And she was not going to have me do it. She don't care who did it, who taught it to me, who does it anyway. She goes, "That's not the proper way." She goes, "I wasn't taught that, and you're not going to learn that." And so, I've indicated that she had me redo everything I ever knew, which in her eyes, she said wasn't much. Which wasn't. And she said, "Whatever it is, you forget, because I'm going to reteach you." And she did. It doesn't matter. I don't care how it is that you get ready for bed, how it is that you do laundry, how it is that you make your bed. All the way down to line as even cleaning. It was going to be the way she taught me, and the way she taught me, period. She didn't care about anything else. So this was no different. And she wanted to make sure when I grew up in life that I would know how to do stuff the right way, her way. I've also indicated I'm going to have to ask Karen if I remember if Mom did that. Well, I know one thing about the beds. I told Karen the first time I met her about the beds, and she goes, "Mom liked making beds." I said, "Mom was a perfectionist." I said, when it came to making a bed and anything she did, period. I don't know if Grandma was like that. I'm kind of thinking she probably was, because that's where my mother probably got it. But as a young girl, and I'm using an AI program to write a family story, and it's funny on how I tell it what to do, or I tell it all the information, names, dates, characteristics about, personalities about some, different family members, and I tell it to write whatever, and I'll read through it and like kind of whatever stuff. It's interesting to me on how it picks up on what you say and incorporates into the story. Pretty interesting. So, as a young girl, my mother cooked, cleaned, and raised her siblings as if they were her own, because Grandma and Grandpa was a carpenter by trade, but they also worked the fields. I don't think Grandma Waltman worked a paycheck job. If she did, something I don't remember hearing about. I would have to actually ask Karen that, or the family when I see them next year, because I don't know. I don't remember if Grandma ever worked outside the home. I asked Rose, but she said they worked the fields. So that's all I can go by, is I know that they worked inside the fields. They worked the orchards. They had fields farming in Meridian, Mississippi, before they came to California in 1940 to Bell Gardens, and then they had peach orchards and out here and in Northern California. But Aunt Martha, Grandpa's sister, she would have been my great aunt, and I did meet her a couple of times. She had peach orchards also. And so my mother was a mother to her siblings. She disciplined them. I remember Uncle Tom, when I was talking to him in the early 2000s when we first saw him again, and him and I were talking when Tony was out work, and I was asking him questions about that. He goes, well, he goes that Aunt Marie took care of the house and raised us boys up. And I said, yeah, I know the story about that, how that's why she didn't have a problem with getting married. Her problem was having kids of her own. She did not want children of her own. She did not want to be a wife and a mother because of raising her siblings. Early on at 5 years old, until she met Uncle Bud, left home at 16, a month before she turned 17, and got married. Well, it wasn't quite a month yet. It was a couple of weeks. She was a couple of weeks shy of turning 17, but she was still 16. And she even told me when I was 21, she did not want a family. She didn't know Uncle Bud very well. She didn't know if they'd get along, how things would be in the marriage, and she was not bringing children into something like that if it was not going to be what she maybe thought it was going to be. Number two, she raised her brothers and her sister Aunt Faye until she left at almost 17 years old. She was not raising a family. It's not what she wanted. She wanted adventure. She wanted to go live life the way she wanted. She was young, footloose, and fancy free, as she put it. And she wanted her freedom. She did not want to be tied down, strapped in one place, and with a family. You can't be up, not at that time period, scurrying around all over the place. It just wasn't possible. But that did not happen because she got pregnant right away. They got married in 1945, July of 1945. I had to think there for a second. And she was pregnant within a couple of months. I said, it's not something she wanted at all. And she had told me that, and I've told Karen this, so this is nothing secretive. Yeah, she didn't want to be a mother. And she was glad. She had told me when I was 21, I'm glad that I had Rita and Karen. I have grandchildren, and I will probably live to see my great-grandchildren. Well, she did live to see her, 15 great-grandchildren. And that's more than what most can say. So I'm glad that she was able to have that. But in 1986, that's what she told me. And she did not enjoy being a wife to begin with. She said it had too many problems. And too many, I'll say problems again, or issues that, a lot of up and down struggles. She came from really a poor family. She was young during the Depression. She came from an extreme, and a lot of people probably don't know this, I don't know, but I do. She came from an extreme, strict, disciplinary family. And these are my words, she didn't dig it at all. Everything was left undone inside the house. It was her fault. It was her responsibility to cook, to clean, to take care of the siblings, go to school, and keep her grades up. That is a lot of undertaking, she had told me, at the ages she goes I was. And she resented it. And so to have children, especially at 17 years old, it's not something that she wanted. But it happened. And so she didn't have too many choices on how things went after that. And after Karen and Rita were married in the mid to late 1960s, that apartment house went up for sale. She sold everything, took whatever it is that she wanted to keep inside the RV, because they bought an RV. And her and Uncle Bud hit the road, and that's where they stayed. On the road in RVs. And I say RVs plural because, they did wear out, I suppose, or they just didn't like it. They didn't like them. They had, before I met them in 1984, they had 2 RVs prior to that. And the one that I saw at the family reunion in 1984 was smaller than the one they bought in 1986. It was less than 30 feet. It was a small one. I have a vague memory of that RV. It wasn't very big. I was in there 3, 4, 5 times in 1984, but I don't have a large memory about it. It was not important to me. And it did I remember it having a couch on the right-hand side, because I went and sat next to her, and the one, I think there was a couch on the other side too, because that's how they had it in 1986, except the one in 1986 only came with one couch on the right-hand side, and then that chair. And I think it was either open space, or there was a cupboard, some type of counter up underneath the other window, but they had that taken out. She wanted a dual couch, which she had a dual couch. And that dual couch that I always sat on, and I slept on, because I think that one folded out into a bed. I don't remember, but if it did, I never had it fold out into a bed. It took up too much room, and I was little, and that was fine for me. I didn't need it to be pulled out. And Uncle Bud built the cabinets up underneath it, just like he did their wardrobe closet. It had small little closet. He ripped them out and put wardrobe closets there, where you open the drawers like this, and she had like hanging stuff here on the right hand side, belts and whatever. And the belt she used on me was never hanging up on there. The belt that I bought her in Tijuana, that hung up there, but it had decorative whatever, some purses and some stuff that hang down on the right hand side. There wasn't I don't believe anything on the left hand side that hung down, but on the right hand side she had them. And it had a shelf at the bottom in between where you hung clothes, It had one up on top, and then it had 2 drawers that he built also, and he mirrored the two on his side of the bed, on her side of the bed, and they had single beds inside that 1986 RV. They didn't sleep together, and except when they had sex, he'd jump on top of her. But up underneath her wardrobe closet where you opened it had 2 drawers. And I always liked it. I want that RV. I want to find it, but without registration and be able to have a VIN number, I can't trace it. Karen doesn't know where that information is, but Karen doesn't have time to look for it. Too bad, because I really wish she could, because I really want that information. So I can trace it down, and I don't know. I think I'd have to find it, because I don't have the money anymore. It all goes towards my household expense since I bought that mobile home last year. I'd sell whatever because I want that RV. It has a huge amount of memories in it. It was my mother's RV, and I want it. I've never wanted anything besides having the crep so bad in my life. Okay, besides seeing her and the family. But as far as like wanting a particular item, materialistic, never wanted something so bad in my whole life, but that RV. But what I was gonna say is that, yeah, when I was talking to Uncle Tom, about childhood, whatever stuff, and I said, so I have a question, since she raised you guys, and I knew that. She ever spank you? He just looked at me, and his face got all weirded, and he goes, "Oh yeah." I said, "How many times?" I mean, he goes, "Oh no, when she spanked us, she hit us more than once." I said, "That's not what I meant." Like, how many times did my adopted mother actually discipline you guys? He goes, "More than he'd like to admit." And I told him, I said, "She hit hard, huh?" He goes, "She could hit hard." That's probably why they listened to her older in life. Because Rose told me, she goes, "Well, they always cowed down to her, and she couldn't figure out why." I go, that she raised them up until she left home right before she was 17. She goes, "I know that." I said, "Well, that's probably why, because they were younger than her." I go, and so they looked at her as like mother figure. When you're say 7 years old and your sister is like 12 years old, that's a huge, or 13 years old, whatever, 14, that's a huge age difference right there. When you're older and stuff like that, it tapers off, but that is a huge thing. And they were all taught respect and to mind, and she was left in charge. And so what she said goes. And if my uncles and dad stepped out of line, she disciplined them. Standing them in the corner, she gave them a whipping. She'd switch them. She'd not put them across her lap, but she'd spank them with her hand, spatula, wooden spoon, whatever. And I think that's why, as they were grown adults when I entered the family, they didn't backtalk her at all. Not one time did I ever hear them smart off to her. The only time that she ever said anything to them is because, like, Uncle Wayne was joking around with her, and she said, "Wayne, you watch yourself." And when she said that, she meant that. And he, all right, sorry. It was that respect that they had for her when she was raising them. And I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, she had a look. She had a tone of voice. And when she, like with me, I'm just going to use me because I don't know about anybody else. When she spoke and told me to do something, or or I knew I was in trouble. She spoke with commanding respect. And if I didn't give it to her, oh yeah, I got it worse. That did happen a couple of times. And I couldn't shrug my shoulders at her like that. Oh yeah, I got in trouble for that. Look away from her, because I have the tendency to look off, even when I do videos. I wasn't allowed to do that. When she asked me a question, she expected a direct answer, and I better give her one. You know, all that kind of stuff. And that had to do with respect. And she was probably like that with her siblings. You know, Grandma and Grandpa were probably like that with her. I'm kind of thinking it either had to come from somewhere, or when she was put into the position of raising her siblings when Grandma and Grandpa were working out in the fields, she put herself in that respective, authoritative position, and so that could have stemmed from there. With me, but you know, she said that she would always do everything her way. She doesn't do it the right way, the wrong way, the Waltman way. She definitely was not doing it Teresa's way, as I told her in 1984. She said, I agree to rear you. I will take you underneath my wing, and I will raise you up. But I'm here to tell you, it's going to be done my way, because that's the only way I do anything at all. And that's it for now.